What's up, everyone? Welcome to level 7. That feels weird. I don't like doing that. I don't like doing that. I did try to do my best TJ's Warwich impression, and it just didn't work. I was going to throw an oats in there. I was going to give you my best Canadian accent. It does not work. Does not work. Welcome, everyone, to the Agents of Fandom YouTube channel. This is the Andor After Show. My name is Damon Gray. I am your host. And no TJ's Warwich today. He is out and about in Calgary Fan Expo doing his best out there, getting a ton of interviews, all that good stuff. But I'm not alone. I got with me Sean Mott from Middlecore Nerds. Sean, welcome.
Happy to be here and talk about a show that doesn't feel at all like real life at all. It didn't make me ultra depressed while watching it, right?
No, not at all. Definitely fits that escapism type of show we're going with. Rachel, hello.
Hey.
What's up?
Much like Sean, nothing like watching a show that has nothing to do with real life. Vader would not let that shit fly.
Say Vader wouldn't let this fly?
I'm going to
Oh, you mean the space Nazi?
I'm going to be quoting that, unfortunately, throughout most of this episode, because that is the craziest thing that's ever happened on the internet.
All right. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I gotcha.
You're on
it's
board
all clicking now. 1 + 1 is equaling 2 here on the Agents of Fandom channel.
Yeah. Thanks, Ron. Knew I had an ally.
You know what? Vader would never let that fly is the equivalent of saying, like, when did Rage Against the Machine get political? That's like the same thing to me.
Green Day.
You're just not paying attention.
What are you talking? Yeah, Green Day, Rage Against the Machine. Vader wouldn't let that shit. Or what? No, what was it? Vader wouldn't tolerate that shit.
Yeah. Like, oh,
what a world! What a world!
The same guy who massacred a group of children? Sure, yeah.
Yeah, that guy who force smoked his pregnant wife. Yeah, of course.
That guy,
totally.
That guy. Before we get into Andor season 2, the long-awaited season of season 2, it's been like what, almost 3 years since season 1 aired. Wild. Let's get into a little what you watching, what you watching, what you reading, what you listening to, what you anything. Sean, let's start with you. What you watching?
I'm gonna start with, you brought up reading and listening, so I'm gonna go with that, and then I'll go to what you're watching, because it's kind of the same as what I said in the Last of Us after show, which was a few days ago. So it's just kind of the same thing. But I've been reading this book called Pictures of You. It's like a drama book, I would say, and it's basically this woman. She gets into a car accident that kills her husband, and she gets amnesia, and her amnesia goes back to when she was like 16. So she remembers like nothing of her adult life, and pretty much like her best friends, her family are all estranged from her at this point. So she ends up kind of running into someone who was a part of her life, but was a part of her life after the amnesia hit. So stuff gets involved, or stuff gets like brought back up from the book, jumping in the past and the future and stuff like that. I'm almost done. I'm like 90%. So I'm almost there. But it's a really good book so far. Okay. I'm very, very much enjoying that. Listening, there's a lot of new music came out. New Sleep Token came out today, which was really good.
What a Friday.
New Arm's Length song came out the other day, which I really like that band for like a pop punk person. Especially if you like pop punk and early 2000s. Arm's Length is definitely a band you should be checking out. They just got signed to Pure Noise. So super dope band. And watching, I just, like I said on the Last of Us after show, you should be also watching that, listening to that if you're a The Last of Us fan. And I talked about how I finally started watching Lost. So I'm in like the middle of season 2, and I like it. I'm a big Damon Lindelof fan, and it's like the only Damon Lindelof thing I haven't watched, mostly because everyone says it sucks or it gets sucky, I guess is the better term.
People got very like into their theories.
Those people are not your friends. Because they also probably watched the finale and misunderstood the finale. Lost is good.
Mm,
Don't listen to them.
Those people got really into their theories, got real mad with their theories.
yes, theories. So Lost was the WandaVision before WandaVision. Look at
Dang.
that.
I was waiting to finish my chip
Look at
and
that.
say it's just like WandaVision.
Yeah, which you can't be mad about a story giving you something that it was always intended to tell just because you thought something different was going to happen. I'm always a very big advocate of that. So I'm really liking it so far. It is very 2000s feeling, which I have to remember, like, yeah, this is when it came out. I can't fault it for that, but it's pretty cool so far. They, they're in the hatch. If you have watched the back of the plane met up with the front of the plane, I guess if you've never watched it, it's a little bit of a spoiler, but you won't even remember by the time you get there. There's so much stuff that happens, so many characters, you won't even remember that by the time you get there. But I'm really liking it so far. I don't know who my favorite. I think my favorite character is still Jack. If you're wondering, I guess I kind of like Sawyer, but I also hate him because he's an idiot. He just self-sabotages himself, and I don't like that. But people are dying left and right. Stuff's getting weirder. I'm into it. So I'm sure you'll hear more about my journey with Lost in the many Agents of Fandom after shows to come during this section. That's pretty much
Rachel,
it. That's been my main things.
Rachel, what you been watching? Have you seen Thunderbolts yet?
No, I'm seeing it on Monday.
Monday.
Apparently it's gonna wreck me personally. I made a joke to Brandon Davis and I said, because I saw his tweet, sent it to him and said, oh, so it's gonna wreck me. And he said, honestly, it kind of feels like it's designed specifically to destroy you. So can't wait to see what happens. A lot of ways that movie could wreck me. So can't wait. But I'm still reading the fucking Running Man. Like, I'm still doing it every time.
More like a jogging man at this point.
I'm still reading. Yeah, he's dead. His heart gave out. And he's been running for so long.
Power walking man.
Yeah, because I started reading it in like September, and I'm still going. To be fair, I've been very busy. But I watched so much of You in the last 3 days because I had stopped watching You at season 3, and not because I didn't like it or anything. It was literally like I started to watch season 3 of You, and then I was at my house, because this was during COVID, and I got really scared of I just was like, you know what? I can't sleep and watch this. I'm not going to watch it, and then I just never went back. And so with season 5 coming out, I was like, you know what? Then let me watch it. So I watched from season 3 through season 5 in the last 2 days. I feel unhinged. I was like cheering in my bed last night, finishing it. I was losing my mind. It was 2 a.m. This morning I woke up and my light was still on because I got scared. My roommate was like, what happened? And I was like, I was scared Joe was gonna get me. But I watched all of season 5. Show is crazy. Joe Goldberg is nuts. I know that's not a hot take, but it's crazy because he's like, no, I just love you so much. I want to protect you. And all these girls are like, it feels great to be loved. Run. If a man says he wants to protect you, run.
Run now.
That is what we've learned from You. If a man says, I love you so much, I want to protect you, get out. And yeah. I've been listening to Springsteen. That's how I know summer's coming. That's what I'm listening to is Springsteen.
I'm still mad about, I think it was season 4 with the whole love thing.
No, that was season 3.
Season 3. Okay. I can't remember. Honestly, like it was like
when they're at Madre Linda and Love is like opening her own bakery but ends up killing the realtor because she thinks maybe her and Joe were gonna cheat. And so then Joe has to just basically hide all of Love's murders for an entire season.
That's fine. It was just how the whole love thing ended. I'm still team Love should have just killed him.
Well, here's the thing. I am upset. This is now just a podcast about what you should have done. I am mad because they called her the This is Lovett of Madre Linda, and then the next season's in London, and he straight up looks like Sweeney Todd at one point. So I was like, let's go, label him as the Sweeney Todd to her Mrs. Let's do it. They didn't fucking do it. So, like, what was the point of the Mrs. Lovett thing other than she's the baker? And Joe made it seem as if she cooked him into a pie, when then they all learned that didn't happen. There's a lot that I'm like, listen, you, hey, you.
Oh god,
This
just turned into a you podcast. I'll be very quick with what I've been doing. Not watching anything much, but this is, as Sean mentioned, like one of the wildest new music Fridays that's come out in a while. Sleep Token released a new single, Ghost. Poor Ghost. They have a new album out, but it's like Sleep Token's completely taken over that entire space. So I feel like no one's talking about it. I'm going to my 4th show tonight in a matter of the last 7 days. I'm tired. My back's hurting. But we're gonna have fun. Speaking of
tonight, what
fun,
show's tonight?
Oh, it's Magnolia Park and Hot Milk.
Oh, wait, is that the one at the Webster?
It is. No,
nice.
not the Webster. Yes, at the Webster. Sorry, yes, Webster. Golly, my brain was not working. Yes, the one tonight at the Webster. So if anyone's going, I'll see you there. All right. Speaking of fun adjacent, Andor season 2 came out because it's like, yay! New Star Wars, but at the same time, it's like, damn, very socio-political, fairly real Star Wars. And
then Mon Mothma.
Yes,
just vibing.
Yeah, we'll get to that. So the first 3 episodes.
She's the one with escapism.
Yeah. So the first 3 episodes came out this week. First of all, before we just get into this season as a whole, what were your thoughts on season 1? Where does it rank in terms of like your Star Wars shows, Star Wars projects? And then what'd you think about, spoiler 3 thoughts on the first 3 episodes this season? And so far, do you like this release model? Sean, I will start with you.
Season 1's probably my favorite Star Wars thing, probably besides Empire. I am very excited to rewatch Rogue One after these 2 seasons, because I already loved Rogue One. I think it's, like Rogue One is basically the series finale of Andor, even though it came out before, but that's kind of how they like reverse engineered this. And even these first 3 episodes, like it feels like an HBO level series that just happens to be a Star Wars show. Like that's what it feels like. And it's continued to do so. I really liked the episode 3. The 3 episode drop is a little overwhelming because, I mean, these aren't your normal Disney Plus length episodes. They're like real TV length episodes. So you're like, yeah, it's 9 o'clock. Let's spend 3 hours in Andor world. I think I watched 2.5 and then went to bed and then finished the 3rd one the morning after. Just because I was like, I'm tired. These episodes are a little long, which I mean, I love. And I'm sure we'll get more into it. I really liked these 3 episodes a lot. The only thing that bothered me was the people on Yavin 4. Like, I get what they're trying to say and what they're trying to do and set up and all that stuff. I just found it really annoying. And I think they spent a little too much time there. And that's really my only gripe. Everything else I thought was pretty amazing. I mean, there's a fucking Wonder in a Star Wars project. What is happening? Mm-hmm. As soon as it started going, I'm like, they're doing a fucking Wonder right now. Are you serious? I was in awe that they pulled it off. And I feel like Wonder is so highly, or not exaggerated, but it's such a main topic lately because obviously Daredevil came back, started with a Wonder. The studio had their classic Wonder episode that was also shot in a Wonder, which is just incredible and meta. And that show is great. It's a great show. So it's all this Wonder talk is here. And then of course you see one in Star Wars, which is just like, that wasn't on my bingo card for this year at all. So really enjoying Andor so far. And from what I've seen people talk about is that it only keeps elevating from here from the most part. There has been some criticism I've seen, but like obviously this season in particular has been reviewed very high. I feel like almost higher than season 1. So I'm super stoked for the rest of the season. I'm happy Andor's back and just continuing this insane year of television that I think is going to be talked about for a long time, to be very, very honest. And we're only in April. It's insane to me. But yeah. happy Andor's back, even though it's way too real to what's going on and kind of depressed me a little bit. But it's good.
A bit depressing. Rachel, where does Andor season 1 rank on your Star Wars fandom projects? Where does it rank for you? And what are your thoughts on the first 3 episodes? And do you like this release model so far?
I do. I have seen the whole season, so I know what it works when you because it is. I can talk about it. It's been talked about how Tony Gilroy was like they're each in a section of like a year or whatever the amount of time is. And when you're watching it that way, you're like, oh, I get it. Because you want that full story and then you can move on to the next thing. So it makes sense. For me, so I have a little Rogue One tattoo from it's a cut line from the trailer of Rogue One. But Cassian Andor was my guy. Me and a couple of my friends were like, I loved Cassian. I wish Cassian was here. Like I have a Diego, let Diego Luna touch Jabba shirt. Cassian's my dude. So when they announced Andor, I was like, let's go. It's for me and like my 5 friends. No one else is going to give a shit. And then the fact that it's very good makes my little soul happy. So it ranks high up there. I liked season 1 a lot. I will say season 2, like as it goes on, it gets better and better and better. And like the ending hit in a way that I was just not prepared for emotionally. I figured some things out that happened, but I was not emotionally prepared for them. So it was a lot, but it made me I love season 2 a lot. I love them both for different reasons, but I think season 2 has a really good overall arc.
Season 1 for me, for when it comes to Andor, I will fully agree with everyone who says it's the highest quality Star Wars television show and arguably project we've gotten in recent memory. I will fully agree with that. It is high quality stuff. It is adult television. I still like my Star Wars with the lightsabers and the fun of it all. So it's not up there in terms of my favorite shows, but I certainly respect it. And I was a little hesitant going into the second season because I'm like, all right, this doesn't feel like this is going to be fun. This feels like this is just going to be like a hard-hitting socio-political show, which is what it is. But it's still really good. And if these are still like some of the weaker episodes this season, I am all in on the rest of this season. Because if this was like this season at its quote-unquote worst, we're flying. We're flying.
Yeah, I saw people being like, it's a slow burn. I was like, no, it's doing a lot of setup. It's a political thriller. Like, political thrillers aren't like right out the gate, you're in the middle of the intrigue. You got to kind of set up a lot of stuff. And because it's a TV show, they are allowed to have 3 episodes of really, it's not just setup, but like a lot of just setting up what's kind of going on in the Empire in that first couple of years that it's figuring itself out, or not first couple of years, but you know what I'm talking about.
I will agree that it is a slow burn, and TJ actually had a good idea on how we're going to recap kind of like these 3 episodes. We're not going to go full chronological episode by episode by episode because that would take a ton of time and would get a bit repetitive. So he had a great idea, and let's recap it by planet storytelling. And we're going to start with the one that feels like the slowest burn, because in reality, not much happened, as Sean brought up earlier. And that's on Yavin 4, where Cassian steals a TIE fighter on a mission where he has no clue how to fly this thing, goes to Yavin 4 for a rendezvous to find some leader of a rebellion. This leader of a rebellion is seemingly dead or missing. They're gone. And now you just have a group of rebels there who, as I was live texting TJ as I'm watching this episode, I'm like, Sean, I fully agree. I hated every single person on this planet. You're supposed to. They do a great job with it. But these are people who literally wouldn't even trust their own farts. Like, they're just so insecure of everything. They can't trust anyone around them. And it's the classic example of when you're trying to have a rebellion against something bigger, you get infighting, and the infighting is what's going to kill you, right? Like if you don't have a strong group that's all agreeing like this is our one goal, we'll focus on the one goal, like it's just gonna crumble and tear apart. It's a whole Saw Gerrera story just showcased right in front of us. So Cassian gets there, they capture him, they don't trust anything of who he is, and not much happens in those 3 episodes other
You
than
are
he finally
bypassing my
escapes.
favorite part about it, though.
Oh, go on.
When they're all in the wilderness, just like yelling, and you can like, they're like everyone can hear you, and they're like yelling at each other, and I'm like, how did the rebellion become the rebellion? If this is how it starts, where these people are in the woods, like, oh, do you see that guy? I'd be like, you're over there.
I got to a point where I straight up said, I can't wait for every single one of these people to die. And then literally seconds later, we essentially get Jurassic Park on in Yavin 4, where this beast just comes out, kills some of them, and then Cassian just escapes and leaves.
You know why
that's it that happens on Yavin 4.
Killed them because you can hear them yelling.
But that's it that happens on Yavin 4. That took 3 episodes. So I do agree. The slow burn aspect, specifically when it came to Cassian, the title character of the show, it took like that could have been something that could have been done in 1 episode. I respect
that could have been an email.
It could have been an email.
What is the email equivalent?
Yeah, go on.
In Star Wars, like what is an email?
That could have been one transmission.
One transmission.
Is a transmission? Is that an email or is that like a voicemail?
No, I guess.
Overall, still decent. You get to see like early days Rebellion, how much of a mess it is. Everything on Yavin 4, Sean, you brought it up earlier, but what were your thoughts on all of it?
I mean, what a glow up for Yavin 4 to become one of the main rebel bases eventually in like what, like 3 years or something. So good for them. Big glow up for them.
Big glow up
in a short time. I think the big point is that in something like a rebellion, anything like that, if you don't have a leader there, they even talk about how they're not only is Cassian's main point of contact gone or dead or whatever, their leader, they talk about their leader dying or not coming back or whatever. There was like a big battle that they lost a ton of people, some ships, and they're kind of stranded there. So not having that focal leader is what kind of caused the chaos. But there seemed to be no chain of command either of like who is next in line after the leader. And that was the whole big problem, what led to that. And that's, again, I get it. That's the whole point of this, to show that in order, you need the Luthen and you need the people under Luthen for this to make sense and for this to work. But I will say that the opening scene with Cassian was incredible. To the speech he says to this like new rebellion, and even seeing the perspective of there's this person obviously working for the Empire. And she's like, I had fun here. Is that weird? And like, you think about it, you're like, no. And I think that's what this show, even since season 1, has done the best, is kind of shown how human everything else in Star Wars really is, even the Empire. And I love how it continues to do that. And him trying to escape and not understanding the controls is, I felt like it was me on Smuggler's Run at Disney, because when you're flying, you are bad. I've never seen anyone good do it. Even when I've, my wife and I go and there's 6 people in there and we're like in the back as like the gunner or something. No one flies well ever. I feel like it's an impossible task. And if you've seen someone that flies well, or you have, let me know, because kudos to you, Gold Star.
It's me.
You've flown well.
But then the person who was on the other side fucked it up. I did my job.
You did your up and down part real good.
Yeah, I did my part well. I did see a TikTok where someone was like, when they let the kids pilot it and they're in the back with like this,
dying,
flying into the
Give
control
me a mode, please. Whenever the children are flying, just autopilot.
You gotta be nice, but I'm also like, no, I don't. I'm not getting whiplash and struggling with kid wants to fly.
So that moment was like, as you talked about, like the show is very serious, very adult. But that was like a really funny moment without being like, haha, funny.
Well,
that
it's
was,
like when K2 smacks him in Rogue One. Remember when K2 just was like, boosh, and you just see Cassian's face like fly back? it's that kind of humor in the middle of like, oh, this is dark, but we're laughing because this one thing just happened.
Yeah, so totally agreed. I wish that subplot just was a little shorter, because like I felt like Cassian in that moment where he's just like tied up and like annoyed, and I'm like, yeah, bro, I get it. I'm feeling the same way, and it just felt like such a stark contrast to everything else that was going on in the other planets. The other planets is like very dire, very dark, and I'm all cool with the good, leveling out the tones and stuff like that. It just felt like a little too much. Maybe it's because it was too long. I feel like if it was shorter and they kind of just reached that same end goal a little faster. But this is me nitpicking. Like I said, and like Damon said, this is the worst of the 3 episodes. Like, goddamn, like we're in for a ride, So
Yeah.
That's it. It was cool. It was on Yavin 4 though. What a wild connection that I think you don't realize until after, or at least near the end of it. But
my one thing, Cassian on the Imperial base or whatever. How does this man not have like a poster up somewhere? Like at this point,
The thing
he's
is,
just walking around. I'm just like,
to be
okay.
2 people who know what he looks like.
like no one knows what he looks like. Yeah.
No, it's like I think it is straight up just Cyril and Dedra are the only 2 who know what Cassian Andor looks like, and everyone else is like, I don't know. I didn't look up a
They have
picture
some
of the guy.
really bad droids then.
Well, because isn't in season
Really needs
1
to work on their droid face recognition system.
But in season 1, isn't his face up on like a thing? So there is, in theory, a picture of Cassian like around. And no one
just let him walk on.
Well, I also think that is a testament to like how the Empire thinks about themselves. That they're like, there's no way this one man can do damage. Yeah. But it is very funny. In theory, they all can know what he looks like, and none of them go through the motion of like, that's Cassian Andor. Make sure you know who he is. And then he just gets away with everything.
That one.
I think it's kind of like it goes to the point of like
yeah.
Oh, done. Disintegrated.
Oh yeah, just straight up cooked at the very beginning. That like you mentioned about good laugh moments. That one was obviously one of them. Sean, let you go.
It was mostly like, these big corporations or like a government, they have all this technology and all these things in place, but once it trickles down the line and gets to the bottom, like no one knows what's happening from the bottom to the top. And that's a big problem with structuring and a lot of things, to be quite honest. And it's just like no way that information is going to travel from the people who know it the most to where the people who actually need to know it. And that's just, I think it's just highlighting that problem as well. It's like, I don't know. It's like, it's a thing with Star Wars too. It's like, that stuff happens all the time. Like how many rebels or Luke Skywalker have just put on a stormtrooper helmet and just walked in? Like that should not be that easy. But it's kind of a testament to like this big machine. And I mean, and the whole thing of the downfall of the Empire is that like Palpatine got rid of the clone troopers, these trained, genetically engineered soldiers, for just a numbers game, which is obviously like a really, just some dudes who were like down for the cause, which is just like so dumb. Like you really think about it and you're like, I'm like watching the Bad Batch and I'm like, are you an idiot? Like what is like you're supposed to be the mastermind?
Some dudes who can't even see in the helmets and like walk into things, who like can't shoot a blaster to save their damn lives, and then like get tricked by Han Solo being like, everything's okay here. No worries.
The beauty of it. Rachel, last thoughts on Yavin 4.
Listen, I would watch a whole, I know everyone was like, oh, that's all that happened, but I would watch a whole show about just those dudes trying to figure anything out in the woods.
Like, Rachel's greenlighting Yavin 4, the miniseries.
Survivor.
Where it's just the most frustrating thing possible.
Survivor presents Yavin 4.
Yavin 4. It was just so funny watching them just be like, nah, over there, dude, who are you? What are you doing? Like, no sense of self-preservation, which I guess is kind of like a necessity to be a rebel, is that you have to just be like, I'm willing to die. And not like for the cause. I'm just willing to die in any given situation. But boy, oh
You have to
boy,
be a
was
little
that
stupid.
funny. That
You have
was
to be a little stupid to be able to do it. Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
I loved it. So dumb.
All right. So he actually TJ gave me the whole rundown. I'm going to save this one planet towards the end because it has the biggest impact. We're gonna go to Coruscant next. Quick shout out. We have an interview here on the Agents of Fandom channel with Denise Go and Kyle Solar, who are
Goff.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Who's Dedra and
Yeah.
Cyril. So go check that out. But on this planet, we start off with just like this big meeting talking about Gorman and mining Gorman. And I have to quickly shout out Krennic's whole presentation on this was so Star Tours. Where it's like, come to Gorman. We got like horns. And I'm like, what is going on here?
If you could,
But they're just trying to mine.
If you would have told me that Gorman was going to be such a big deal when I was like, I'd be like, why? Like, why is that? Why are we talking about Gorman?
Because we're gonna mine it and it's gonna explode and it's the people on there are gonna die unless we find a way to get them off. And all these big head, the people who like to eat their nice little cakes and stuff in space are like, oh, how are we gonna get these people off? I don't know, who cares? And it gets into all of that, which I actually thought was really interesting. Dedra gives her plan, which is essentially like scare them, but do it smartly. And it's like, all right, sure. One of the wilder things with these 3 episodes was Dedra and Cyril's date with Cyril's mother. Just like,
dude,
wild. So toxic this mother is. Like, just like a terrible person. And all that happens. Sean, what do you think of that date? The little family get together.
It's kind of weird that I liked it. Is that weird? I don't know. They're obviously
It was
like
captivating.
the worst, but they make so much sense as a couple. And I'm gonna shout out Dedra for sticking up for her man to his mother. Good for her. That's being a great partner right there. So shout out for that.
Go, Rachel.
Yes.
So as 2 men, I have to ask you a question. What would you call Cyril? Because I feel like he's a little pansy bitch. But with Dedra, he is like a wife guy. But it's a weird character to try and like label. Because I feel like there are people who are like, oh no, that guy is going to get me in trouble. Like, I can't talk to him. He's scary. But then also he's afraid of literally every woman he's ever met in his life.
There's the classic term of who wears the pants in the relationship, Sean. And I think it's quite simply just that.
But he's afraid of his mom. He's afraid of Dedra. He's like, if a woman is near, this man is like, I'm afraid. But then is an asshole. Like, I don't.
Oh, total dick when he was like talking to that one. By the way, he pulled that whole, we've all worked with a bunch of people in a lot of different places. He pulled the whole, like, I'm going to give you my one career accomplishment right now, and I'm going to tell it to you right in your face and make you feel inferior to me. And I'm like, all right, fuck off, bro. Like, get out of here. Can't stand you.
He is the Joe Goldberg of Andor. Like, the guy who thinks he's doing something right by people, then you're like, you're not doing anything right, my guy. You're not.
I think he's scared of women because of his mother. It's like trauma, and that's his mental issue. Is because he has this awful, toxic, terrible relationship with his mother, and that probably is the root of all of that. Yeah. And I think that's why he overcompensates in work, because he has this kind of new place and power for being good at his job. So he uses that as leverage to have power over people, because he's never had power over any other of the relationships in his life that he loves. Thank you, and welcome to Star Wars Therapy, hosted by Sean.
I was like, oh, you know what? Let's take that acronym. SWT. It is Star Wars Therapy.
is gonna be a new segment, I think.
Get it?
But
I'm gonna
Cyril
explode.
laying on the bed, definitely a new reaction meme for the rest of
Oh,
it.
when you
Probably
see
the
it.
best.
I have already seen
Reaction
multiple
meme.
people use that. I don't know if you guys follow Ash Crossan, but she got back
Mhm.
from Tokyo and just said the jet lag and put the picture of Cyril like laying flat on a bed, and I was like, yeah, that's gonna get some mileage on the internet.
I used it as me still thinking about The Last of Us season 2 episode 2. That picture.
That's just
I'm
gonna be
gonna
me
Pretty
coming
fitting.
back from my shows tonight.
That's just me
Yes.
every single day. I wake up and I'm like, I don't want to. Like, I just want to
Yeah,
lay
fair.
here.
That's fair.
So we didn't get a
Relatable
whole lot
or-
in
yeah.
Coruscant. We just got like the Dedra Cyril stuff so far. Wrapping up on Coruscant. Sean, what do you make of these two? What do you make of Dedra? What do you make of her plan?
I mean, she's the planner. If Krennic sees the potential in her, that's bad news because he's an evil guy. And I'm so stoked he's in this season. Yeah, he's amazing. And I'm so happy we get to see more of Krennic. Like, obviously, he was a great character in Rogue One, but to see him in a long format and to see how the Gorman thing, kind of leads into the Death Star thing, I'm very, very excited to see more Krennic. And obviously, Tony Gilroy is a massive history nerd.
Mhm.
And someone pointed out how where he had this whole presentation was very similar of like a Hitler meeting place or something. There was big windows and mountains in the back, and I was like, yeah, that was done on purpose. That's for sure. And it's I don't know, go watch Tony Gilroy interviews because they're fascinating, and it's a testament to why this show is so topical now. It's because history just is doomed to repeat itself for all of eternity. And he's really just taking stuff from the past. And that's the thing about all of this stuff that feels so relevant is that they're taking stuff from the past. They couldn't have wrote something that's going to happen in the future. It's you can't really, I mean, I guess sometimes you can for the Simpsons or stuff, but they're mostly writing about stuff that's happened before. It's just everything is a vicious cycle of awfulness. So actually, except for Alex Garland Civil War, he actually did tell the future. So kudos to that for dooming us, Alex Garland.
Nick Offerman is our dictator.
The Florida Texas.
I mean, I would take that.
Who saw that coming? Or
It's coming.
Not Florida, Texas, California, Texas.
Yeah, I was like, Florida,
California,
Texas
Texas.
is crazy work.
Yeah, that one's
California,
that one's
Texas alliance. Good gravy. That's what a movie that was. Rachel, to wrap things up on Coruscant. Yeah. What'd you think? What'd you make of Coruscant in the end?
I never understand how Coruscant as a place, what the vibe is, because it's a city. So were they in Brooklyn, the Brooklyn of Coruscant? Because correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Coruscant in the prequels where there's the flying space cars in the middle of skyscrapers? And I was like, this looks just like Brooklyn. So I was like, I'm assuming now there's boroughs of Coruscant because it's a big city and where Padme was Manhattan.
Boroughs of Coruscant.
Yeah.
New show right there. Reality TV. Let's go.
The Real Housewives of Coruscant.
Oh, Jesus.
It's Mon Mothma and she's dancing. Oh, that would be great on a Bravo show.
Dave Filoni calls.
I love that we keep getting different views of Coruscant because I'm like, what the fuck is this city? This city is crazy looking. But yeah, great. The Hell's Kitchen of Coruscant would be incredible. Imagine the Broadway. Well, because here's the thing. It makes sense. My logic makes sense when you think about it. Because our big courthouses are either in Brooklyn and Queens, or it's way downtown in FiDi in the financial district. So this could be the Senate building could just be in the Brooklyn of Coruscant. And that's what I have to say about Coruscant.
What a place. What a place. I want to get to Mina Rau now. This is the hardest hitting planet. This is where Bix is kind of hanging out. working on some mechanic, and it looks like grain fields, very large grain fields, with her and the crew.
Big.
I'm just gonna send it right to you, Rachel. Honestly, with this whole thing, because the Empire comes in and they start an audit, which means they have to shut down communication everywhere. They can't communicate with Cassian. He's not back yet because he's been held captive by Moron Planet number 4, and just like he's not back yet. Everything's chaotic. So they can't get away, and they're waiting for him to come back. All that stuff. Planet Iowa, if you will.
Planet Iowa.
I mean, it is. It is. It's Planet Iowa. There's corn, there's grain everywhere.
If you build it, Cassian will come back.
If this is Planet Iowa, give me Star Wars Slipknot on this planet now. I want it.
Listen, no, I want Field of Dreams. I want the Field of Dreams.
Yes.
The Field of Dreams of Star Wars.
Don't take away Star Wars Slipknot from me.
I like this whole storyline. Arjuna is so pretty. When I did my interview with her, I talked about how like she uses like she's naturally very pretty, and all of her characters have a different level of beauty to them. And I think Bix's is such an interesting kind of thing to unpack because she is a beautiful woman, but it's also like her drive to be the part of the rebellion is one of the things that makes her so beautiful. It's crazy. I would watch Arjuna read a fucking phone book, but I think this is it's a interesting thing because we are used to seeing the rebels in the midst of like planning and fighting and like figuring out where to go. We don't really get to see when they were lying low, which is a lot of what the first season was doing, and now these 3 episodes are doing, especially with like the Bix storyline, because that's essentially what they are. They're just lying low while Cassian goes and gets intel or whatever he's supposed to be doing on Yavin for when the jabronis find him. But this whole storyline I think is really interesting because it has been implied in Star Wars for a really long time that like the Empire is not necessarily outright sexually assaulting people and women, but like at least harassing them in some way, shape, or form. Like that's insinuated with Leia. You watch assault happen to Padme. That is on screen. It's not sexual assault, but she's assaulted by her husband. So it's like it's always kind of been like an idea. So to see it actually played out, and like Tony Gilroy's had really great comments and answers about why he wanted to include that. I think it's just a really powerful and important thing to include in a show like this because it is the first one that like implied people had sex outside of being like, and now here's a child. And I think it's just very interesting because, we obviously know Anakin and Padme slept together because there's twins, but there was only like a smooch, and the same thing with Han and Leia. And so Andor has kind of already been pushing the envelope from season 1 in that regard. And so to see that carry over into showing what the Empire is willing to do when it's just a man with power, like he's not even a high-ranking Empire person, he's just a dude with power, that Vader wouldn't tolerate that shit. I really liked that it was included because I think it's something that we know exists in our own world when that kind of power is exerted. And so to see it carry over into Star Wars, which has from the beginning pulled from our own involvement in wars, I think it was smart and necessary.
Absolutely. There's actually something I want to bring up real quick. You'll see how this loops back. Gail Simone brought this up on Blue Sky the other day about allegory in X-Men and how allegory is important, especially in the media we consume, because it can allow you to tell stories maybe for a representative group like the X-Men. You can have allegories for a bunch of different things. And those are important because sometimes they allow people who may not fully understand that angle, certain groups, certain people, until they see it in an allegory form. That's important. But it's just as important to just straight up have somebody of a specific group, to straight up show something. it's just as important to be like, this happens. We're not doing an allegory for this. We're showing it. We are saying it exists, right? And in this setting, I think that is so important because the Empire is the fascist empire. It is. And when you have people in that power throughout human history, dating back to thousands of years ago, people in power do horrible, horrible, horrible things. And when you want to make something feel real, you could have an allegory for it. But when you have an adult show like this, we've constantly praised the show being an adult show. You have runway to do this. So why don't you? And they did. And I give them so much credit for showing it because it hits harder. When you have a character like Bix that we've seen now for over a season, you have a connection with this character. You've seen her lose a loved one. You feel for her. And now you put her in a horrible situation like that and you see it and you feel it. That's just as important. So, Sean, what did you make about this entire portion of this episode, of these 3 episodes?
Wait, can I make
actually, yeah, no, Rachel, please go on.
I would also argue that it is almost necessary at this point with Star Wars because we have people who stand there and say Star Wars isn't political, don't put your politics on Star Wars, when it is inherently wars is in the title, which is political just on its own. But you have from the beginning, it's been a commentary on the Vietnam War, it's been a commentary on fascism as a whole, but because it's all allegorical, people ignore it and they're like, no, it's a fantasy. I'm just watching it. I'm just looking at these characters. I'm not thinking about the real world. It is almost necessary at this point that shows like Andor that have the ability to do so, throw it in your face that it's like, no, this is actually a commentary on what is happening, what has happened in our world and what can happen again. And these situations are what really makes it like drives it home. Granted, it's driving it home for people like us who all understand what Star Wars has been doing from the beginning, but it then makes everyone have to grapple with their own viewing of the franchise, I think.
It's, as Carlos said, it's absolutely a commentary on undocumented migrants. We have a whole discussion on visas. Like, you don't have your visa, but we can work something out, and it gets super disgusting, super creepy. Sean, what did you make about this portion?
Yeah, I mean, you guys said it perfectly, I think. And I was going to bring up the whole undocumented thing, too. They had that on top of it. And on top of Bix, what she went through in season 1, getting tortured for, the latter half of the season. So she went through that, which obviously she's dealing with. One of the opening scenes when we got introduced to where they are was her dealing with like night terrors about her being tortured. And then to have another thing like this, and to know that she is still going to fight, be totally down for the cause to fight the rebellion, just shows how strong of a character she is. And I'm excited to see her progress throughout the season. I'm obviously very worried for her fate in the long run, because as we've seen, like with what happens with Brasso, and as we know, the fate of Andor, obviously, is that it seems like he's probably going to lose everything before Rogue One. That's a safe guess. I mean, maybe not. Maybe she ends up working for a different part of the rebellion or something like that. Like we don't know. But I'm preparing myself for that kind of loss, because I feel like that one would be a very emotional one for sure. But this whole and they built up the tension in this section of that planet very well, of being like, oh yeah, they're at this section of the planet, they're moving towards us. And even Brasso being like just the greatest human ever, of how he like saves the guy that was like housing them and saying like, you turned us in, when really he didn't. He was saving their lives, him and his family lives. Like, what a dude. That dude is just the best guy like ever. Like, so shout out to him. Like, that's why it felt so like heartbreaking when he died, and seeing Cassian like hold his dead body. I was like, damn. And also, did they leave B2 Emo there? Because if they did, I am so upset, because
he's
love
chilling
that
in
droid
Iowa. He's
so
chilling in
much.
Iowa.
And or as Carlos said, this one's a good one. Naboo Raska. Wow. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Wow. I was just so sad for B2 Emo the whole time, just being like, where's Cassian? And I'm like, I love this droid so much. And I just
love him
want
just
to
for
be
his
back
name.
with Cassian.
B2 emo.
That
He's
makes
over
me-
there.
that's
Where is
great.
he? He's somewhere over here. I think he's behind the Captain America shield, actually.
Listening to some My
There's a
Chem in the
little
back,
one.
you know.
There's a
He's
little
just being B2 emo.
He's emo.
Yeah.
That's him and Dio are my favorites because they're both like, I don't want to fucking be here.
What a droid.
mean,
what
I
a
think
droid. So they
Chopper's
all
my-
escape.
Chopper's still my favorite, but yeah. Chopper is a menace to society. Yeah.
Chopper's great. So Cassian gets there. They all escape. As we mentioned earlier, Brasso is unfortunately dead, and B2 Emo chilling in Nebraska / Planet Iowa, whatever you want to call it these days. I don't know when we will see him next, but I hope we see him soon. Finally, we are on to our last planet, the rich planet of, good Lord, I hope I
Wait.
pronounced this right. Yes.
While you figure that out, do you think B2 Emu has the capabilities of making a fan vid? Because I hope that's what he's doing with Brasso's. Like, he's like doing like I will remember you, and it's all about his memories of Brasso. That's what I hope.
Only if it's using, just for Sean's sake, only if it's using
Slipknot.
Nebraska or Planet Iowa's Slipknot.
It's just
So
people
Slip-
equal shit playing as is in memory. That's good.
A black
And it's
and
actually
white
just a
video.
bunch of droids in masks. It's we have an idea and we will get there. We will get there. Chandrila? Chandrila?
Oh yeah.
I'm awful
Yeah,
with these.
Chandrila.
Is that right?
I think it's Andrilla.
Sure.
Yeah. Chandrila.
We have a wedding, Mon Mothma's daughter's
Sure.
wedding. I honestly, when it came to the wedding part, really couldn't care less, but I was interested in Mon Mothma and Tay's kind of like little back and forth. Tay, the banker who's helped funding all of this, they reveal that he's been losing a lot of money because having a rebellion isn't cheap and shocking everyone, not really for profit. So he's
What?
losing a lot. I know, shocker. So he's losing a lot of money and he's getting really drunk at this wedding. And he essentially threatens to start talking to some other people. Luthen is there. Luthen doesn't fuck around. And it seems like he's dealing with this situation. Rachel, what'd you think about this wedding planet?
Listen, the only thing I cared about was every time it would cut to Mon Mothma, and she's like, because correct me if I'm wrong, it's been a minute since I've watched this episode. Is it not like cutting when like Bix is being like assaulted and all these things are happening, and then it cuts to Mon Mothma and she's just like,
Yes.
Yep.
And it's right after.
genuinely
Yeah.
one of the greatest things I've ever witnessed. Because I'm like, she is the epitome of like, I'm dancing my problems away. No one can tell me shit. And I was like, I have been there. I know everyone who has been there, like related to that, where you're like, I can't care anymore. I need to just not think. I'm gonna drink and dance and forget all my issues. I was like, if you put her dancing to Robin's Dancing on My Own, that has been me in college, just like vibes only. And I love it so much because it like, I know it seems funny when you're like contrasting it to these like atrocities happening and then this rich woman is doing this, but I really liked what Tony Gilroy said about that scene, which is he was like, everything in her life is on display. Like every single moment is people are watching her and seeing what she's doing, even when she's like home and alone, like she's still being like put like this camera on her essentially. And so it was like the way that she could just be free for a second. And I think that is kind of beautiful because it's when you break down everyone's kind of status, it's like Bix has been tortured and was almost raped, but also she is fighting for a freedom and she has the way of like hiding out on this Iowa planet. Cassian can still remain in the shadows, even though like two people know what his face looks like and he's trying to get all this information. And Mon Mothma is the one that has to constantly play up. And even Luthen has the ability to like switch from being the Luthen rail with the wig to like the other Luthen, where Mon Mothma does not have that at this point. And I think it's a really interesting kind of way of highlighting that even though she seems like the one who has the most power and the most privilege in this situation, is just as like lost and stuck as everyone else is.
There's a couple things that I love that you brought up. First of all, Luthen specifically, I can't not think about him as almost like a Bruce Wayne Batman ordeal where he has to
It's more
put
like
on
Clark
this.
Kent. They don't
Sure.
they don't recognize.
Well, it's like he has to put on this persona that's supposed to be almost like the rich playboy in a
Yeah,
way.
that's true.
And then like deep down underside, he's like, yeah, no, I'm actually like setting people up so they can just be like killed in the back seat of a car type of thing. And it's like, all right, you do your thing,
wild.
Luthen. I find him
You
so
do you.
fascinating. When with Mon Mothma specifically, right before she starts going to like that whole dance scene, she gives her daughter not like an ultimatum, but just like an option. Like, we have a chance to get out of this. Like, she's seeing everything in front of her crumble. And she's like, we have a chance to get out of here. We can leave, whatever. And she tells her mother to essentially F off and get drunk. And that broke her. But she did. She essentially did what she was told. She's like, the only way I can kind of deal with this is to get really, really, really drunk and put on the persona that she has to and dance her problems away. So there is like there is a tragedy to that. So while she is dancing, there's a huge tragedy to that with her, where she's seeing everything, her money start to go away, where Tay's off. We don't know where she's going to get funding from next. Assume she'll find a spot, but right now that's looking less and less as an option. Her daughter now kind of like gone to her. And they really don't know what's been going on with like Cassian and all that stuff. That's been like a huge weird mystery to them.
She hasn't even met him.
Yeah. Sean,
She don't know him.
She don't know. Sean, what's been what are your thoughts on this wedding planet? I keep calling it like, look, I'm just gonna call it what it is. We have Planet Iowa and Wedding Planet.
Wedding Planet.
And also Yavin 4 is officially Moron Land. So go on.
Yavin
4. Nimrod Island.
Good. I like that. It was just like a fascinating thing because, like, obviously, like Luthen wasn't expected to be there by Mon Mothma, but he also played a pivotal role because he is this crazy, you know, like antique deal of the Star Wars universe. And
my favorite job that anyone has had in Star Wars. He deals in
like
antique.
The most wild. Yeah, and I love that his shop has the most wild Star Wars Easter eggs that make no sense canonically. They're just there to be cool. Like, honest, like straight up, they're just there to be cool. Like, there's like a tablet that Ezra finds in Rebels like 3 years from now that are in his thing that he finds like in a temple. So it's like those make zero sense to be there. Like, why would that be there?
Maybe someone bought it and went and put it in a temple. They were like, it belongs in a temple.
You know what? I'm gonna do the right thing here.
I'm gonna put this back.
I'm gonna buy this, put it back. All right. If that happens, I will be blown away. Will be so blown away if that happens.
He is.
Yeah.
Not to bring back the Daredevil IKEA fight, but this is the wedding planet / where Luthen works is basically Red Hook. All bets are off.
It's an IKEA. It's an IKEA. I feel like, okay, Sean, you were in here for this. I don't know if you heard about this whole story. We had a whole IKEA chat last episode of Daredevil, because where Red Hook actually is, there's an IKEA there.
It's just
and then we found out that TJ went to an IKEA and had hot dogs.
He had hot dogs at an IKEA.
Okay.
And we were like, why did you have hot dogs at an IKEA? They're famous for the meatball. Because he goes, the hot dogs weren't that good. We were like, no shit, they weren't that good.
Anyway, so
wow, that was a lot.
Anyways,
that was a lot
so Luthen's place is the IKEA of Star Wars.
Nailed it.
Okay.
Nailed it.
Cool.
One thing I did want to bring up, Cinta is the one who takes Tay away. Sean, I don't want to ask Rachel this because Rachel's already seen. Sean, what do you think Cinta's gonna do with little old Tay over here?
Kill him.
Probably.
Maybe take him on a date.
Ah, yes.
That's gonna happen, right?
You would.
It's a
We're
nice
gonna go
date.
apply for a secondary loan, right?
They're going to
Yeah.
IKEA. They gotta
Yeah.
get a new dresser.
Who do you
Yeah.
think set? Who do you think set all that up?
Come on,
Who
Luthen.
owns IKEA?
Who else?
I'm just,
Yeah,
I'm
he is
try-
the mastermind.
The last thing in here is theories, and I'm trying to have theories going ahead.
It's not even a theory. That's just like a definite fact. What are you talking about?
All right, so
Theory?
R.I.P. Tay, hardly knew ya.
I like that you're signing a death certificate that you don't know exists. You're
He gone. He's cooked.
Dead AF. See ya. Seeing everybody.
There you go. All right. So first 3 episodes done and dusted, just like Tay apparently. Rachel, what did you think about these first 3 episodes as a whole? Final thoughts. And I'm not gonna ask you for theories. You already seen this season, but final thoughts on these first 3 episodes.
I love them because I think like if you watch the first 2, not the third, you might be like, what is going on? Like, why is this? Like I said, I don't mind that it's the slow burn, but I think a lot of people did. But when you're watching it, just like you're like, okay, and then it gets to the last moments of this 3rd episode, and it really kicks up everything, and I think it then is worth it that there was kind of that drag. Because I will say, I watched the first 2, was doing something, and like, or I had to go on a trip or whatever, and didn't get to watch the 3rd one, and then sat and just watched the whole rest of the series because I was just like, oh shit, like this is great. So it's like I really like the 3 as a package. And I think that's smart to do it in the I know we talked about how it's all structured, but I think it's smart because if you just watch the first 2, you'd be like, I don't know about this. But then the 3rd one really cements this like section. Were you laughing at the Tay about to become
Yes. Sean. Sean, final thoughts on these first 3 episodes, and I will ask you any theories going forward. I have a theory. Andor, Cassian, spoiler alert, is going to be alive by the end.
What?
Huge. Big brain theory. Sean, what you got?
Crazy theory. Insane theory. I mean, what Rachel said is pretty perfect because like after finishing episode 3, or even in the beginnings of episode 3 before I went to bed, I was like, oh, I can see why they did this in pairs, because like they do, it seems like they're pretty much releasing like 4 movies basically split into 3 episodes. Not that they end like episodes of TV and stuff like that, but it's like the story arcs are very much, wouldn't make sense if they did it in a weekly drop. Like it would I feel like it would have gotten like annihilated by the internet we live in today because no one knows what TV is anymore. I don't know. The craziest thing to me is people saying, well, they didn't wrap up everything in this one season. Yeah, no shit. It's a TV series. Like, do you want them to wrap everything up and then start over next season?
Which
what are you
is
talking
only
about?
a problem in fandom spaces because the pit, everyone's having a grand old time with that show, and everyone's like, it's okay. We'll talk about it next season. Anyways,
This is why
sorry.
we're the agents of fandom, keeping the whole fandom on check and accounted for.
Yeah, hey, fandoms, take a fucking chill pill and relax. Things will get answered.
There was some. Yeah, there was some The Last of Us season 2 reviews. They were like, yeah, I didn't like it because they didn't wrap everything up. And I'm like, what? It's not a series finale. What are you talking about? Anyway, I'm stoked for the rest of this ride. I'm very excited to see how it progresses and ups the ante and ups the stakes and ups the stress and the real world nature of it all as the weeks continue on. Theories, I don't really know because it's hard because we know the end result, but we don't know what happens in between. I'm really excited to see.
I was just going to say Cassian's going to find the plans to the Death Star.
Well, not yet.
I'm just saying in the future, I think Cassian Andor's going to
That's a huge wow. Clip that, chat.
In the future, Cassian Andor is finding the plans of the Death
Flip
Star
that
with a girl
chat.
named Jenna or so. Spoiler
Oh.
alert.
Man, big brain theory
I
over
guess
here.
I
From
am
Rachel.
wondering.
Yeah.
I am wondering if we do get a Galen Erso mention. Do we get a Galen Erso cameo? I feel like that would have leaked, but this is a crazy theory. Do we get an Ahsoka Tano reference? She was a big part of the rebellion. Do we get a Rebels mention? Maybe, because I think at this point it's kind of at the same time Rebels is happening. Do we
If
get
we
like
get
a ghost?
anything Rebels related, I will come on this podcast and scream. That's a promise.
No words spoken, just screaming
Yes.
Screaming.
for an
Just
entire
screaming.
episode.
I think TJ would
Yeah.
as well. It will just
Yeah.
be screaming
Like-
nonstop because both our dreams would have been made. I doubt that happens, but that would be neat.
If there's a Fulcrum name drop,
It would be
I'm gonna
neat.
lose my mind. All right. If there's a Fulcrum name drop, I will lose my
Mhm.
mind. Will it
Just a
happen?
name drop.
I doubt it. But
Just a name drop.
yeah, if there's just a mention, I just want to mention a Fulcrum mention. That's all I want.
Okay.
Make my dreams come
All
true,
right.
please.
All right. First 3 episodes of Andor have come and gone. I enjoyed them. I do think this show has a small, tiny bit of a House of the Dragon / Game of Thrones problem where there's so many characters who have such strange connections to other people. I straight up forget who they are. I think that's like one of my biggest critiques of this, especially for a show where this last season came out 3 years ago. So there's some episodes like Cinta showing up, straight up forgot she existed. Like straight up, I was like, oh yeah, you. Because it was just, it's Rachel, season 1 happened how long ago?
There's this wonderful thing called a rewatch.
It happened so long ago. So regardless, it was, I think it has a little bit of that going against it, but I'm still having fun with it. I actually enjoyed this more than anticipated. I enjoyed this more than I anticipated. I was genuinely hooked by the end of episode 3, so I cannot wait for episodes 4, 5, and 6 next week. Speaking of next week, we have a live after shows, a bunch that we always do. The Last of Us, after a phenomenal episode this week. I was going to throw a golf pun in there, but my brain's not working. So 4. Yeah, there you go. Be warned.
I can't wait for episode 4. I don't even remember what happened in episode 4. I was just making a joke.
She did it. She did the thing. We got that coming up. Comic Corner, as always, on Thursdays. That's myself, TJ Fat Thor, and AF. We talk about all the latest comics of the week, including this one right here, Absolute Wonder Woman number 7, which was phenomenal. Loved it. And a bunch of the Absolute books, the Absolute and Ultimate books from Marvel and DC the past year and a half have just been incredible. Highly recommend if you just want to get into comics and you want good quality storytelling. That is it. And also, I don't know if either of you two heard, there's a little movie coming out next week called Thunderbolts with an asterisk. Thunderbolts asterisk. We will be doing a live reaction show some point next week for that film. Sean, how much are you looking forward to that movie?
I'm very much looking forward to that movie. I have my tickets for Thursday ready to go. I may be doing some interviews relating to Thunderbolts for this YouTube channel that we'll talk about next week, I guess. They might be happening this weekend. I don't know. We'll see.
That's what we call a tease in the business. Rachel, I know you're seeing it soon. I know you're anticipating it. What you got coming ahead?
Nothing.
Oh,
You, you can just listen to my podcasts, Padro Pascal, Powell Pod, and Cinema Sibs, and read my work at the Mary Swing Collider, and follow me on social media. That's what I've got.
Sean, where can people find you? What you got coming up here on Agents of Fandom? Anything, Agents of Fandom? Anything for metalcore nerds heading your way?
Yeah, just nailcorners.com. You can find all the podcast stuff there, all the social stuff like that. Got some nice Collider articles coming out. I mean, I do like 3 or 4 weeks, so there's always something to read that I'm writing there. I just did this nice article about how I wish the MCU felt more connected and how Daredevil feels like it exists in its own world, even though it did mention some things, and how it even feels siloed from the Netflix universe it came from. Had a nice comment, someone saying that even though everyone involved in the show, so the Netflix series is canon to the MCU, this commenter said, no, this is a different universe. So he knows more than I do, and the showrunners apparently.
And the cast and Disney.
I love reading.
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
and
and
what,
everyone
the
else involved in the
official
show?
playlist that has the official timeline on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He knows more than Bob Iger.
But I don't know anything, right? So those are always fun to watch. I always know when an article will end up being like that. I always just, as soon as I hit my draft's ready, I'm like, this is gonna be one of those.
Yeah, the commenter is actually Kevin Feige.
No, it's Iman Vellani.
Yes, Iman Vellani. This is not Earth 616. Leave me alone.
It's Earth 199999999.
If it was. Yeah. So yeah, you can check all the there. I'll be back Monday for the Last of Us after show, talking about episode 3 and the increased trauma the show will continue to bring us, because I am if you haven't watched that show, I am a game lover, so I know it's coming, and I know this series has only proven that they make the most traumatic moments worse. So yay.
Par 3 is my favorite thing in golf, I must say. So we got that coming up on Monday with The Last of Us. As I mentioned earlier, you can find me and TJ and AF every week on the Comic Corner. And we will be back next week for Thunderbolts Asterisk. What does the asterisk stand for? I guess we will find out in 7 days. Very exciting there. That'll do it for this issue. I'm still in Comic Corner brain. That'll do it for this episode of the Agents of Fandom podcast. As always, make sure to follow us on socials on Twitter and TikTok at Agents of Fandom, Agents of Fandom on Facebook and Instagram. We'll see you next time, everyone. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Peace.